Good morning, Chris. Hey, bundled up, nice and warm inside right now, at least for the moment. And
Yes, indeed.
it's a great start of the morning.
It is,
It
and
wakes you up for sure.
well, and this winter has been, I think, the consensus is exhausting.
Yes.
Over it already. Where is spring? All of that, all
Oh
of
yeah,
those
like
things.
they're going, wait, February, yeah, that's usually the longest month of winter, and we're not even into it yet.
I know that's kind of the scary part is that it is definitely taken a toll mentally and physically. We see a lot of those accidents that happen on a daily basis. We're talking about whiteout conditions in a lot of periods and a lot of stretches if you're driving down the lake shore and a lot of times. But this year, surprisingly, that snow has been a very light snow, and so we see some of it fall from the sky, and then we see some of it just turned up from the ground too this year.
Yeah, it's a really interesting phenomenon is that, we're like, my wife and I talk about it every morning. So what's the snow look like today? And there's no snow forecasted. So
Mhm.
and then it's snowing. You're like, okay, we're getting lake effect again. I think we now officially, we live in Buffalo. I mean, they seem to get the most lake effect in our country, and boy, we must not be far behind this year.
No, I agree with you. Speaking of Buffalo, they get a lot of colder temps over
Yeah.
there. The people know that. And whenever they go into the Cleveland area and such, it's layer up on a daily basis, and we are talking about that today in our forecasts and trying to make sure that we get a lot of that messaging out as this cold snap comes in this evening and throughout tomorrow. It's going to feel like about negative 15 to some areas negative 20 or more. And frostbite, that can set in within less than 30 minutes, or just a few minutes, depending on, your age in some cases, where you're talking about animals that are out too long. We want to make sure that they're protected. But this morning, it was important for us to connect with you on some household tips that we can do prior to tonight and tomorrow. And I don't think it's ever too late to just kind of go through a list like this, even in the middle of the winter when we know that it's going to get colder and we can prepare for it.
Yeah, it gets a little bit more challenging the colder it is, just
Mhm.
because you only want to be out there so long if you're trying to make some corrections. But, a good example was my daughter just recently bought a home, and one of the main doors, there's a big, she said, well, Dad, I was looking between the frame and the door and I can see daylight.
Mm.
And I'm like, yeah, with these temperatures, you're going to, I mean, even without them, the heat's going to be pouring out. But I said, that's a pretty easy fix on that section to go to one of the big boxes and buy a section of weather stripping. So I think there's some practical things we can give them in this session like that you can buy. And, either has adhesive on the back of that weather stripping or it can be nailed on. But depending on the type of door you have, but just that one simple fix, hopefully, is practicality for people to hear this. That even with this cold, today is a perfect day to go get that weather stripping,
Yeah.
go buy it, and put it on, before it gets too cold tonight.
Well, and you bring up a very valuable point is that, the road crews have been out. They've been able to clean up a lot of those roadways, and we're not expecting much snow right now. And we even see a little bit of a break in the clouds with some blue sky and sunshine in some parts of the listening area right now. And so it might be a good idea to, to head to that hardware store. I don't think, when we start talking tomorrow about this time, it's going to be different. We're in the mid teens right now, headed to a high of 22. Tomorrow, we won't, I don't think we even will get over 0 degrees throughout the entire day that, we're forecasting at this point. So some of these tips could be helpful and we want you to be prepared for it. You were talking essential tips to stay warm and save energy as well. We talked about a draft. We don't want to have one of those. What other safety or energy saving tips could you share with the audience this morning?
Yeah, I would say from a safety tip standpoint that if you haven't done this yet and you have a outside garden hose connected to your, what we refer to in the construction industry as your hose bib, but the faucet, if you will,
Hmm.
on the outside of your hose, take the hose off
Yeah.
today. Okay. These are the temperatures, for example, where what happens in that situation is it'll actually, the water in the hose, if it's assuming it's got a connector at the end of it and the water's maintained right to that spot where it comes out, it'll actually freeze more than a foot or so into the home. So if you have a
Hmm.
basement, where that pipe comes through or a crawl space, that pipe will freeze, it'll crack, and then when it thaws out, it will create a under pressure water problem in your basement or crawl space. So if you have a garden hose, first practical tip, just looking around your house on the outside, that is a huge one. Make sure that's disconnected. Another one would be some people with older homes don't have the insulation that they would really like. And they can handle it. They make it work, right, in terms of the walls. But on those places, for instance, in a kitchen sink, or maybe in the past over the years you've lived there a long time, or maybe it's a new home to you and it's an older home and you really don't know. But under the sink, sometimes, depending on where the pipes are, if they're in the wall, and even if there is some insulation, those pipes, Chris, will freeze in the wall.
Hmm.
And so this would be a night where that will happen.
Yeah.
So overnight, those pipes in the wall will freeze, it will crack and create a situation underneath your kitchen sink. So if you're questioning, like, I wonder, this is the day to kind of take action. Leave that faucet drip just a little bit.
Mhm.
Just barely turn it on overnight when it gets below zero like this, just as a precaution, especially if maybe it is a little bit newer home. We haven't had these kind of temps, in a few years, this cold that we're going to see overnight tonight. This might be the night to, like, you know what? I think we are going to, let the faucet drip a little bit tonight.
And the science behind the dripping faucet, just maybe for some of those new homeowners and such, take us through that a little bit. Is it just create that flow of water over those pipes? I mean, a drip, you think, that doesn't do too much, but take us through that if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think the biggest example for me would be is look at some of the bigger creeks and the rivers in our communities,
Mhm.
whether that's the Manistee River, Pure Marquette River, Lincoln watershed, there's water still moving, today and will be tomorrow. Those rivers don't always freeze over. So
Mhm.
with the water moving, it does, I don't know completely scientifically why that
Mhm.
happens, but just water moving doesn't freeze as much as is water that's still and not moving and in one place. It just causes it to freeze a lot quicker.
Okay, good tip
That
there.
might not have been the best answer, but
No, it's okay. No, it makes sense
it
that they
at least gives people an example like, oh, yeah, a river doesn't really freeze like, an inland lake.
Mhm. Yep, absolutely. If you are just joining us, we're talking with Erin Doan from Erin Doan State Farm Insurance. We're talked about preventing those pipes from freezing. What about, and maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but how much how much does the responsibility of taking these steps factor in if something happens, and then the insurance side of things?
Yeah, I think the thing that we do as the insurance industry for homeowners, rental dwellings, things of that nature. So is really try to help people be preventative and be eligible for the insurance. Most, if not all, insurance companies do some kind of reinspection or send out reinspection questionnaires during the lifetime that you have that insurance policy on your home. And so the idea is, can we help you to not have a loss or claim? Yes, obviously it benefits the insurance company, but it
Mhm.
also benefits the insured. So let me give you an example. I had a conversation with a guy who basically they had a pipe crack. It wasn't from freezing in this situation, but it caused water in his kitchen. It went over into the bathroom that was connected to the kitchen and down below to the office that he worked from home in.
Mhm.
And so it was very important to have that because he's actively doing
Mhm.
um, uh, virtual calls and conferences and working from home. So that situation, it was about between getting the contractors in there, getting it dried out. It was almost 3 months of time. So I think it's part of it for the consumer is just the headache of
Hmm.
getting through that and being displaced in your own home. And in that situation, it's your home and your workplace for people that do work from home. So I think just in an insurance standpoint, you don't have to worry. Like if you're insured and you're covered and you have a frozen pipe that breaks, it's covered. It's what we call in the insurance industry a named peril.
Okay.
It's something that happened like smoke, fire, wind, hail, frozen pipes. Those are all covered name perils. And it's just that we're going to help you recover. We're going to help you dry out. We're going to help you find somebody to help you reconstruct, and we're going to write the check. And that's what insurance companies and what we try to do different at my agency at State Farm is we're trying to really walk you through that as best we can. So yes, you're going to have an adjuster from the insurance company. Yes, you're going to have a dry out company and maybe then a third company that's going to help you rebuild. But together as a team, I'm trying to help make sure that the process continues to move with you
Hmm.
and just trying to differentiate in that space, Chris, because I feel like being a good neighbor is being there for the people as they're going through this. And if they get stuck or the communication breaks down a little bit, I'm really proactively trying to reach out to make sure, like, if you do have a frozen pipe and you do have a claim situation, it's covered. We're going to help you. We're going to help you recover locally. We are going to take care of you. And that is a mission and a vision for me to just make sure I'm taking care of the people who are my insureds, take care of them in that situation. So just know from an insurance standpoint, we're going to take care of you.
I'm glad you explained it that way because I think, on one hand, we think about it as the preventatives and, oh no, something happened, our pipes broke, and now we have a flood. And how much of a disaster is this going to be when it comes to the insurance relationship side of it? But to know that if that happens, that you can continue to focus on the rebuilding side rather than is my insurance going to cover this, right? Because that's what people are going to always worry about. So the question I guess I have for you then is you've been doing this for so long that when you see the approach of temps like this overnight tonight, we're looking for -3, but again, it's going to feel worse than that. Negative, I think our 1 degree tomorrow is our forecast. At least at this point, it's going to feel a lot colder than that. Um, is it? Are you going to get the calls tomorrow? I guess is what my question is. Can you sort of predict that these are the temps that things happen in?
Yes and no, Chris. I think we'll see some calls, and you might think, well, why? Because the yes part is it might not be tomorrow.
Hmm.
Oftentimes in these situations, it's when things really thaw out and then they get warmer and then they become evident.
Okay.
And sometimes what happens is the warmer it gets, the more that pipe unfreezes, for example, and the water really starts to flow. Now, it's going to be really cold. It looks like up to a week,
Hmm.
right? So for a week, you may be in a condition that is in a static, non-moving place where it's so cold, not as cold as tomorrow or overnight, but it's still going to be cold enough and colder than normal for Michigan homes. So what's interesting is, where we live, because Lake Michigan warms us up so much, that when you get to Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, they are 100% used to this. This is
Hmm.
just a normal winter,
Yeah.
right? But for us in Michigan, we can have 10 to 15 degrees every single day in the winter, be warmer than our neighbors, on the other side of the pond or down in Illinois and Iowa. Heather
Mhm.
mentioned to me this week, she goes, do you know, like recently, like it was 5 degrees and our school district closed?
Mm.
And she goes, do you know that I walked in Iowa half a mile to school because the bus didn't come there? 20 below zero regular temperature when I was like 8 years old.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it kind of can be a little bit relative, but for Michiganders, I mean, I lived in Minneapolis for 2 years. I personally experienced -25 and the wind chill was 75 below.
Mm.
On the radio, they said 5-minute warning for frostbite. They
Yeah, yeah.
literally went,
Mhm.
if you're exposed for more than 5 minutes with open eyes or skin, you have the ability to have frostbite.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
scary.
right?
No
It's
doubt about it.
scary. So we do have that happening potentially tonight. So be
Mhm,
very careful, and we can dive into that next in terms of vehicles and being
mhm.
out and about over the next day or so for sure.
And I think that's, and that's a good transition too, because we see some of the comments that come in on Facebook of, hey, the roads look okay or the conditions look okay, but we live in rural communities where, if you're standing outside at the bus stop, for a long period of time, that can put yourself in danger, your kiddos in danger and such, and especially when we've got a lot of dirt roads and side roads that can make for hazardous conditions. Just the other day, we had listeners and messaging in, and it felt like the consensus was when you come to a stop, you're going to slide, and or around a curve, and that was the messaging for that morning. Um, Speaking of that and travel, is there some advice that you want to give for those motorists when it comes to maybe colder temps like right now? Hopefully, by this point in the winter, they've kind of acclimated to driving in these conditions. But does it still change a little bit over the next 24 hours and week?
I would say the simple answer to that is this is different. If you're listening right now, this is just different. We are not used to these temps, and we can handle it being in the 20s or even in the upper teens when we go off the road and the car's running for a while until we get help.
Mm,
Okay, this is different. We're talking 20, 25, potentially even 30 degrees colder than what Michiganders are used to in West Michigan. So if you're listening, this is the time, 100% today. If you're going out tonight or, overnight or early in the, tomorrow morning or whatever, please, please bring an extra coat.
mhm,
Make sure 100% you have gloves or mittens, a hat, make sure you have an extra blanket or two in the car. I saw a car off the road 2 days ago, Chris, going to Traverse City, and the roads were better because it was that day that we really weren't getting all the snow, and it was an okay day to drive up there.
mhm,
And there was a car halfway in the median, and up there where we were at, the snow was probably 3 to 4 feet deep, and you could barely see that car. And so I ended up calling 911. It looked like it just had happened, and they said, "No, we know that the guys or the ladies there were on our way." Or whatever. And, I didn't know if he was hurt because it was down a pretty big ravine.
mm,
And so, in that case, tonight, overnight, the point is be prepared, have a shovel, have some salt or sand in your vehicle, have an extra coat, gloves, mittens, blankets, a flashlight, just be prepared. For and possibly again not being able to dig out and make sure your phone is charged. Have your phone charger with you
mhm.
in the car. These are things that are just super important, Chris, for tonight.
And from an insurance agent standpoint, is there things that happen, we might not know as just the general public, but things that you and your team will see when it comes to vehicle related incidents or phone calls or accidents and such when you have over the years seen temps like this?
Yeah, I would say that the thing can be is that cars can get stranded, a little bit older batteries that maybe aren't holding the charge as well, and the alternators maybe are getting a little bit older and they're not pushing the charge back into the battery. These
Mhm,
are temps that, again, unusually, like this could be where, okay, now I need to get a new battery.
mhm,
Where again, in the teens and 20s, we're not necessarily seeing the batteries run out of charge as quickly. But be prepared for that. You could literally be going to a store or a friend's house or what have you, going ice fishing, and you're parked at a maybe a little bit more rural spot than normal, and your car will not start.
mm,
So I would say maybe this is another great point. How old is your battery? Ha- You know, go to one of the auto parts
mhm,
stores today during lunch. say, hey, how much charge is my, they have the equipment and the
They do.
ability to say how much, how is your battery holding its charge?
Mhm.
And if you're down to like your battery looks like it's holding its charge at 10 or 20%, it's time to replace it. I mean, I got a 4-year battery, and I replaced one a year or so ago. It was like the third year, and I was like, gosh darn it, it's the third year. So I was debating to go after the whole warranty thing. But the
Mhm.
point was, is it wasn't even in the fourth year yet.
Yeah.
So I just, you just suck it up, and I just bought a new battery, put it in. But again, this would be the time if you're questioning, why not open the hood, take a look. A lot of times you'll have those little dots that'll say the month and the year of your battery. Today's a great day to do that. Open the hood, see what it says, and maybe today take a minute. They can literally tell you in less than 5 minutes when you go to one of these auto parts stores that have that equipment and see if you need to get a new battery. That's a great point to bring that up, Chris.
Yeah, good information there. If you are just joining us, we're talking with Erin Doan from Erin Doan State Farm Insurance. I think the only other thing that comes to mind, and I'm sure after the segment I'll think of another question or two, but uh, when it comes to heat in the house, and you know that we're going to turn up the thermostat, there might be our family members and such that are like, no, turn it down. We always run it at 68 or, 70 or whatever. What do you say when it comes to back in the house and with our furnaces and heats and circulation there?
I would say there's two things that come to mind. In my 23 years as a State Farm agent, I have had the opportunity to help 6 homeowners that were losing their home due to fire.
Mm.
And I knew of the 4 of those and was there in the middle of the night. Most fires do happen in the middle of the night after people go to bed. And what are the causes? On 4 of them, they were related to wood burning stoves,
Okay. Yeah.
even in the home. And so creosote being built up in the chimneys from, you know, other different species of wood, the wood not being dried out. So I would say make sure you have a good supply of dry wood if you're wood burning stove. If you get a chance, and today's the day or this evening,
Hmm.
is clean out your chimney if you have the ability to do that
Okay.
and the tools to do that. Okay. And I would say just make sure you have good hardwood supply near the home, and just be very careful in how hot or whatever you're leaving that stove overnight is one example. The other one would be, Chris, is the propane um, space heaters. They can be very, very dangerous. Make sure that if you absolutely have to use them, that they are not near any sheets or any curtains or anything of that nature. I would highly recommend not using a propane fuel heater, but I do understand that those situations happen and people need to. I would rather you consider a good electric heater. That's grounded, and again, still keeping them away from the sheets and the blankets. But I think, again, I get it. You're trying to keep your house warm and your family warm. Super important. Just be safe, really safe when doing it. Just take a moment to think through where it's at and what you're doing.
We've gotten some messages from listeners just a few moments ago. David messaged in. He said, uh, ice crystals need stability to form, and with movement, water. Going back
Oh,
to
here
our
we go. We get the scientific response.
yeah,
I love this.
yeah.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, and he says with movement, warmer water rises to the top layer, and moving water tends to redistribute the heat energy in those pipes as well. Um, he
So is he a
also,
science teacher at one of the high schools?
I'm not sure, but he knows the stuff.
He knows
Uh,
the stuff.
is it? And
I'm never going to forget that. Now I might study that for next year.
yeah, no, I think it's good. Well, and he also recommended in the car as you were talking there about having this is called a NOCO Boost. It's a
Oh
uh,
yeah, I've seen
having
those.
to be able to recharge your phones or other devices, or to be able to keep that. And it says that they you can get them at Walmart or Sam's Club and other places there.
That's a
So
great thing too. I just saw that one of those for the first time this year.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's that's important. And I'm sure on this video that's streaming on our Facebook pages that if others have any other tips and things, I think that certainly they can contribute to that. But the biggest thing is, each day we go farther and farther. He messaged again. He's listening. He says this can help jumpstart the car. So if you do have issues, having that option to jumpstart your battery and such. So having that as a possibility, I think that
We should have Dave on our show next time.
I
Next
know.
time we
I
do
think
this,
that'd be a good thing.
he's better than me.
I think he would. I think he would probably accept that. But no, in all seriousness, it is. Spring is not close at this point. I mean, as you mentioned at the top of the segment, I mean, we're in January still, and we still have to get through even the colder months of February, and there's certainly there's frustration out there with how crazy this winter has been, but we've been kind of blessed a little bit in the last few years with a bit of a milder winter here and there. I remember what was last year really didn't snow until almost January. The year before it was January when it
Hmm.
snowed. And so, yeah, we're kind of having to remind ourselves a bit to ensure that we're ready for days like what we're going to expect
Hmm.
tonight and
Hmm.
tomorrow. Anything else that you want to let the listeners know before we wrap up this morning?
Yeah, Chris, thanks for asking that, like you always do. It's great to wrap up this way. So on our roofs right now, we're getting to have, roughly a foot and a half. We're pushing closer to 2 feet in some places with the wind. So if you're able and capable, or you can hire this to be done, or get a family member to help you, is it's probably time now to roof rake, the snow off of your roof, and then take a look at the icicles driving around the last couple of days, with the colder temperatures, and we're going to see more icicles. And what that really means is the heat from your home is going into the attic space, and it's melting the snow on your roof, and it's coming down the edges. And many people know this, but what it does also create is what's called an ice dam. And what an ice dam can do, especially for lower tilted roofs, I'm sorry, the pitch of the roof where it might be less than 6/12 pitch, you're going to see water building up, okay, when it gets warm. So let's think about a week from now. A week from now, it gets warmer. That ice along the edge of your roof starts to melt. With a lower pitch roof, the water's going to go underneath the shingles and into your home.
Mm,
It's covered, not replacing the shingles in that situation, but the resulting damage is covered by insurance companies.
okay.
It is covered.
Hmm.
However, it is a claim,
Hmm.
it is on your record. I would highly recommend in that situation to be very careful in how you take ice dams off. I would say Google it to get best recommendations. There's products where people actually put certain types of compounds of salt. I forget if it's calcium chloride is acceptable for roofs to not hurt the shingles, but you can find ones that don't erode the shingles. Put them in a pair of pantyhose and literally get them carefully, be very careful, on that ice dam in a couple of locations to allow when the water melts, it will melt down those channels where the pantyhose is holding those materials. So perpendicular to the ice dam,
Okay.
and that
Yeah.
will help you. So you got to be really careful chipping away that ice because you could hurt your roof,
Mm,
right?
that's a good
You got
point.
to be
Very.
very careful in this space. But this is a solution that I've shared with people for over 20 years that you can do to put a few of those. It's funny, just it sounds funny, but put the
Yeah. No.
pantyhose, put the put
Yeah.
the material in there perpendicular to the roof and to the ice dam, and that will help. But people go, well, why are we talking about this? With
Mm.
these extreme temperatures, we're going to see more of that happening. Dave actually mentions wood ash. That would work too in that space and to help to melt that ice dam. Dave knows a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah. No. Serious feelings come in. No, I think that's fantastic, and that's going back to my comment just a few moments ago. It is always better to, from a community standpoint, to look out for everyone. And so, if we start the conversation today hopefully it will help others by saying, you know what, we need to do that too, and don't forget that, because I'll tell you, when you were going over the safety kit to have in your vehicle when you're driving
Hmm.
around, there is so many different lists out there
Oh,
of
there are.
items that you should have in that. And I think those that live here in West Michigan probably have our own list that we can kind of build upon that. So I'm sure that will be a part of it. Erin, if somebody needs to get a hold of you in regards to insurance or picking your brain from advice standpoint, how do they do
Or
that?
me calling my friend Dave and asking him.
Yeah, that too. That too. But how do they get a hold of you?
Sure, we're on the highway on US 10 in Ludington, a half a mile east of Meyer. So if you're familiar with our area, we do service all of West Michigan. You can find us. We are right next to Muffler Man there, half a mile east of Meyer. You can reach us at 231-757-3115. And you can find us on the internet at ludingtoninsurance.com. ludingtoninsurance.com.
All right, great information there. All right, we're going to connect with you in a couple of weeks. We appreciate you taking the time as always. And for any of the listeners and viewers out there, if you missed any part of the segment, it archives at our YouTube page for however long there. But on Facebook, stays up for about 30 days. But if you did need to recap any of this information, definitely hit that subscribe button on our YouTube. And Erin, we appreciate all that you do and all the information that you bring to the table this morning and each segment that we connect with you. So thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
You got it. It is 102.7 Mom FM and Hot Country Hits 99.9. Just a minute before 10 o'clock. That's going to wrap up the morning zoo, but we'll be back again tomorrow morning. And our team will be working around the clock with any cancellations, closings, anything that you need to know. Make sure you follow us on our Facebook pages and as well right here on the air on